Good morning,
Good
guys.
morning.
Welcome to FYI. Sure, you just startled me. Welcome to FYI. It is Tuesday, May the 3rd, 2021.
It is already.
We are officially in the month of May, guys. This is our first program since May has begun.
Yeah.
And, we are
It's
almost
the third
there.
already.
It's almost half of the year,
I hope these guys are fired up, ready to go. We eating a little biscuit at the back here.
Yeah.
And who say can't eat concrete, having a little tea.
Yes.
May's off to a good start.
Well,
May's off to a good start.
Anna surprises me sometimes, and they put us something. I said, yes, spot on, Anna.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Once in a while they grow balls. Once in a while.
Once in a while they try to represent the actual people, right?
That was a strong statement.
Very strong statement, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you had an awesome weekend. For folks here in Guyana, we had a 3-day weekend. We don't complain. We don't complain about the 3 days.
I got this morning thinking, when is the next holiday? You need a holiday to recover from the holiday.
So my little daughter's off to school this morning. This is her first day in school. It's the third and it's her first day there. So she's telling me, because it's now after the holiday. Her first day back, correct. And she's telling me, I could take another day.
I felt the same here.
And so I told her,
I felt the same as Rena.
They're putting all the students back together now, and it's not going to be the half classroom size and so forth. Not. And it's going to be every single day. So I said, no, I said, you have to go, because today the teacher is going to be tasked with actually allocating seats to all of the students, because since she began for grade 1, she has actually been at the half class capacity. So some of the children, I think they've seen them once or twice on special occasions, but that's it. So it's a whole new dynamic for those younger children in that classroom setting today.
Yeah, hope she has a good
right. Yeah, so and I encourage persons sanitize and all of that.
Yeah.
But she's very particular. She packs like 6 different masks for the day.
Different.
She's different.
Welcome to me.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome
Good morning, guys. Roxanne, Aaron, Claudette, Lewis, Don Cook. Hey Don, how are you?
Really hungry this morning.
Winifred, see you shared. You have your biscuit right there. Just eat it.
Right.
Marlon Thomas, is Shakira Phillips says, blessed morning, FYI family. Same to you guys out there. It's always a pleasure to be here. Gavin Liverpool, reliable and credible source of information. Yes, Gavin. Yeah, I've been really appreciating the fact that persons
get it off your notes.
I have been really appreciative of the fact that persons come to get information, which is credible information. Yeah. We try to make this more into a discussion a discussion format, rather than just come in and say, well, here you have this morning, this and that.
It's not a newscast.
It's not a newscast. It's more to discussion. We're able to give you a bit of feedback.
When last I watched a newscast?
It's been a while. I really don't watch TV at all. Every time I go on the TV, it's something on Netflix or Disney Plus or some nonsense like that.
Or Prime.
It's never.
Prime.
I do not get news from any news source like that. Yeah. And or I go online to the actual website. Like
you go online, basically.
CNN website, BBC website, and so forth.
Online. That's the main source.
Don't just share. You're able. Share. Just eat your biscuit and done. Just eat your biscuit and done. Omar Grant, good morning to you.
I like how the concrete is in real dry. Yeah, rather than the biscuit. I'm just kind of dry.
But the whole conversation, well, we're going to get down to that, we didn't get to why they said that.
Last to discuss.
Vashti Magnot. Hey, Vashti, how are you?
Good morning. When I say morning to Vashti, you got to say good morning to Rupert as well.
And Rupert.
Just get out of the way.
Beatrice
Whenever you say good morning to Candy, say good morning to Marky.
Oh my goodness. So I know my friend Candace, she actually comes on the program and she's one that comes to she actually comes to LinkedIn. And she's like, you guys don't acknowledge the morning on LinkedIn.
So we say good morning, Candy, and good morning,
Quinn.
Good morning, Quinn.
Good morning, Quinn. Good morning, Candace.
Candy. Who knew? Morning, folks. Morning.
I see Vishal is here also. Good morning to you, Vishal.
Good to see you, Vishal. How are
Ted
you doing?
Lucas. Ted, good morning to you both. It's my birthday today.
Happy birthday, Ted. Happy birthday.
Guys, you would remember Ted. Ted actually did one of the podcasts with you when he was talking about the issues that they had with the show. Yeah. So
Ted. Morning, Ted. Respect and manners. I hear you're getting some progress there. Hope everything works out.
Yes.
Yeah. Little
that one is
I would love to be. I would love to be there right now. Moruca and Santa Cruz. I'd love to be there right now.
So Ted, happy birthday to you. I hope you have a fantastic
happy birthday.
Day. Quite a young advocate. I was very impressed by his work.
I was impressed too. Little Carnivale.
I see and Ted, I'm hoping that you usually get an opportunity to share the live stream with all the folks there in Region 1.
Ted,
very
are you
important.
Picking us up
from Region 1? Yes. Cheryl's having some issues. Have some of the biscuits. Rashly 4 send some googly eyes. Hey Rashly, I guess that means they're watching.
Always. You remember what's his name?
Just from the Bronx.
From the Bronx, but Rashi's always the eyes.
I guess it means who is watching. Watching you guys. Right? I see it's Althea Benjamin also. Guys, let us know what is it that you're expecting for this new month. Any new plans, whatever it is.
I want money. You can't get plans without money. Right? You need money to work the plans. I put it out there. I want money.
You want money?
This month, yeah.
Under the PPP.
Things tight.
How are you working it out?
I don't know, but something's gotta give. Something's gotta give. Father, here I am.
It's either you're up in a certain bracket,
Father, here I am,
making a certain set of deals, or you are with the ordinary Guyanese. A lot of, let's just put it on one side. I don't encourage persons to waste the money that they already have. So, so.
Well,
but,
it's quite contemporary we started, but
quite interesting. I had a conversation with a woman that deals with trade. I think she's in charge of trade in the in Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken. And she's actually speaking about the fact that she have a passion when it comes to getting people out of poverty and the whole concept of the alleviation of poverty. Right? No, but you're talking about it, and that's what she was talking about, the fact that they have pilot projects in other countries prior that actually sought to bring persons together, small farmers to be exact. They were having different produce, but they couldn't supply in large quantities. So they had this project in which they have several small farmers, and where they add their produce together, actually do the value added, because that's always the issue with small farmers. Let me tell you, value added is it. So a lot of times their produce are sold at a very minimum pricing, but then when the value added goes together, they were able to make a huge difference and actually to cater for large demands.
Look, together we can do tremendous things, because look, people who partner with us, right? Somebody might give $5, somebody gives another $5. Together, somebody else gives $5. That's $15.
Yeah,
helps us, keeps the light on,
keeps
it open. So if there's a team that knows about what togetherness can do, and we as a people, right? As a collective, we can do extraordinary things together. Extraordinary things together.
Collective voices too.
That we cannot do apart. And I often say Eliud Kipchoge, greatest long distance runner of the world. He says that all of me, right? 100% of me is 1% of the team.
Yeah.
Sometimes even less than that. Some way and plenty.
But the contribution to
1%.
Whatever you do by yourself could sometimes seem like it's amounting to nothing.
Yeah.
But then when you put those very efforts in line and in a grouping of persons with similar that has a similar focus and aim, you will see that how much that contributes to that group.
It's focus.
Right? So push each other. We have an issue that we don't build each other up and pull each other up as much as we should.
And we can be different here in this program. We can be different.
Yeah, we have
in our program, and we're going to be different. And that's the kind of month that we are going to claim. That we are going to have, a month of productivity, month of focus. And we're going to help each other, and we're going to move along.
Shakira Phillips, a bit different, Shakira says she is expecting a big pay raise this month.
A big pay, awesome. Yeah.
It's not from the government.
Go after it. Go after
I
it.
don't know if Shakira, I don't know if it's sarcasm or if it's actuality. I see Facebook users joining us from the British Virgin Islands saying good morning.
What's happening
FYI
down there?
family.
What's happening in the BVI?
Yes.
You know, what's happening down there? Lots of
Yes.
stuff.
According to the headlines,
Yeah.
a lot
I
is
hear that
happening there.
lots of the residents want to meet with the foreign minister, not the foreign minister, whoever from the UK government, the minister who represents the island. It's a UK person. They want to meet with them because there's this notion that the crown wants to rule directly.
Yes.
Through the governor general, and lots of people don't feel that's the way to go. As a matter of fact, I was listening to the acting premier talking about that. About, we've come a far way.
Yeah.
And
it's taking steps backward,
elected,
basically. Yeah.
And that should not be happening in this 21st century.
Yeah.
And there's lots of ways we can do that differently. So lots of eyes are on BVI, right? And you know what? We play the audio of a news report over the weekend on the podcast of them breaking down what led to the arrest of the premier. And Uncle Sam did just wake up one day and say we're going after.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Right? There was a lot of things that led to that. And those guys were intent, boy. They're going to push the drugs. They're going to do the arms and so on. And Uncle Sam wasn't having it. Uncle Sam wasn't having it.
But like we said, lessons for other countries to learn. Lessons.
Some people can learn nothing.
They would learn.
Some people think I'm smarter and we be different. So they can learn nothing. If you learn it 23 years plus, you can learn now. Right, that's all I say.
Yeah.
Put it away. But a lot happening on the BVI front and remonitoring. Lots and lots happening. We have our co-host.
We have our co-host.
All our diamonds and pearls this morning, looking like Princess Margaret.
We just shipped her, from the
UK. Looking like a snack, like a whole meal. This good May morning,
We started the month off different, guys. We're not starting this month off with just two. The full team got to start the month off.
That's how you start. I can ship across.
You're shipping across.
Yeah,
ship.
Amanza could rock and come in. Guys, please say good morning to Amanza. Make her feel welcome and special. Rock and come in, Amanza.
Here you go, dear.
Good morning, FYI.
Amanza, Judy
sharing
a glass for us.
Judy got crackers.
Okay. It's Cher's crackers. He shaped eats it right now.
Good morning, everyone.
Much better eating concrete. Hi, Amanza. Good to see you. Look at you.
That's right.
Looking like $10 million.
We look good together.
Jerry, watch her. Watch her, Jerry. Guys, again, welcome.
That's why.
Like $10 million.
Jerry got out of
You know.
Oh my goodness.
So, Mansa, what have you been up to? You've been marching and so on.
Yeah.
Busy in Labor Day, maybe.
Yeah, it was a hectic weekend. But it's interesting, Labor Day. I didn't see one government official out with the workers.
How could you march with workers that you don't represent?
Well, traditionally, the government has always had a presence. I mean, if it was one thing you would
they used to fake it.
Opposition MPs and government MPs, it would be a Labor Day event. Not so the guys were up in State out having caviar, whilst the ordinary man is in the street marching.
We're laboring in different vineyards.
My goodness.
I don't know if there was a clearer message that could have been sent to work. Because we really, your interest is not our priority.
So. And I'm sorry we don't have the video queued up, but I think the workers, especially sugar workers, sent a very strong message back to the government over the weekend. Them boys were up in arms.
They're informed. I think
they were refusing to have carbon dumping and speak nonsense. People don't want to hear.
I was listening to the surname and I was saying, I hope there's no relation there, Mr. Sharon Duncan.
No relation whatsoever. No, absolutely not.
Is it let Mr. Duncan come?
Very much so.
Let Mr. Duncan speak.
No, stop it.
That's what I was told.
But
with exceptions.
It really was sad to see how Labor Day has just whittled down and away. As a little girl, May Day rally was one of the biggest
true
events. Not this year. I mean, They had the leaders. I don't know why Irfan Ali keeps dropping the ball like this.
Ill advised.
There was a day
you have to have balls to drop them. That's separate.
If there was a day that you wanted to demonstrate very clearly that you are with the workers, the way to do it is not to invite their leadership to breakfast on Labor Day morning. Do that the next day, the Monday. But a true leader goes out there and shows his solidarity with the working mass.
You're talking, that's French to some people. I think the issue is that they are yet to understand where these people are coming from because they're yet to have been in the struggle as these people are. So it's a concept that they just don't get. Of course they don't care. They can't care about something they don't understand. They just don't care.
May have a
right?
Point.
Right?
May have a very good point because the general the PPP was a traditional workers party, and Chetty would have been out there with the people.
Chetty has been rolling in his grave. I don't know.
This Novo reset that at Freedom House there.
They're different.
You know, they don't care.
They're different.
One man ride the bus at 30.
With the camera crew. Yeah.
So they don't care about the working masses of people.
Yeah. So we're talking about buses speeding and all those things. Like, what? Who? Why? How does that affect?
But interestingly,
what's that? What's a bus?
Interestingly, and because it was Labor Day, I saw lots of statements out of the union leaders, and I was like, why don't you just call back on the rock you were on? Because salary increases.
I don't know, particularly the GPSU. The union that represents the lion's share of public servants. Shame on all of them. But as some person said in the address, it was Coretta McDonald. She was pointing out that they're allowed to get away with mediocre leadership because the people allow it.
I hear from some of them in a little while. So I was saying, this union.
No, but they're up in breakfast with Jack Dio and
that's strategic because April them couldn't show the face. You want April them go there and face them sugar workers there. Yeah. You think they know what happening on the ground? They didn't hear it?
Yeah, but
a leader's got to lead.
A leader has got
to lead. A leader's got to lead.
They got to lead from the front.
That's it. They're leading from the breakfast. Them boys anything concrete, I can tell you that much. They anything concrete.
No.
I can tell you that much. But it was interesting.
It was very, very
interesting. I've never seen like that particular rally I was watching, which is Gau and which is Chiropractors Union. Whichever. There's so much in the background, you can't even remember them.
Well, the last I remember guy who was that they weren't aware of the direction that the government was taking.
And mind you, Gau president
is sitting in National Assembly.
Yeah, but the biggest shame is that you have two factions of unions. Like since when? It has always been that labor has been a consolidated force against whichever administration is in there. So what the PPP did is that they split the union. So you have Carville and his faction, and
GPSU,
the GTUC and their Congress of Unions. It is a shame because when unions do that, the only people that are losing are workers. Because once you could buy off the leadership of the union, the workers are without hope. They will take the 3.5 given to them, but their leaders are living high off the hog. And so it really is for the workers to demand better. We can simply bring the information. There is something called a Trade Union Recognition Board. What we are learning is that there's some union members who are sitting on that board and are siding with the government to de-recognize certain unions. I mean,
and that is the way, regretfully, the administration seems to be wanting to hold on to power, not in a very legitimate way. Because just over the weekend, Sabbath News was reporting they have, in addition to that, Amanda Twitter, they have installed 2 additional IMCs.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is that there are persons on those boards who want to actually vote not to recognize certain unions and all of that.
To recall recognition.
But what I can say about that, I think it was Starbucks News, if I'm not mistaken, that there was an editorial, if I'm not mistaken, again, that basically was saying that the PP administration they don't actually collaborate. I'm just paraphrasing. They don't actually collaborate with institutions or an organization that they haven't politically infiltrated. That was the essence of what
They
they were
destroy.
saying,
They
right?
destroy.
So unless they have people on the
organization that they
inside,
don't control.
unless they have people on the inside that is going to be working on their behalf, then they fight and they break down those organizations.
I had a try with Trevor Ben and the credit
Yeah.
union. but we can
Mike
talk
Adams
about that
said
later.
the GPS uses set of crooks. As a matter of fact, there's a new CEO starting out at the Ghana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union.
But I hear that is not without controversy.
Just this morning, she started this morning.
Yes.
900,000 base salary plus a lot of perks.
Yes,
That's like a minister.
But the appointment does not appear to be without controversy, and we're going to be delving into that because there seems to be a concerted effort by the government to continue to undermine the credit union, and they have been doing a tremendous job. I mean, so far, leading the way in terms of paternity leave and allowing collective bargaining to work.
So it's
interesting
interesting to see how some people on that board swing.
Oh yes.
Interesting.
Oh yes.
Interesting.
Oh yes.
Some people got a lot of them work with the government through the various agencies that they represent. Some of them got promotion, pay raises, and so on, and everybody seemed to swing suddenly. Interesting turn of events.
I think that's how the PP operates. That is the modus operandi. It's not nothing new. That's how they go in and they do that kind of politics, politicking.
A lot of people are for sale.
They go.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Let's just be frank.
Yeah,
I mean, it's what time in the
when you have people,
we never sugarcoat nothing. People are for sale, and people allow themselves to be bought without understanding that there is a greater good, that there is a bigger picture. And so these are the consequences. But again, I say, if workers unite and stand up, this stupidness will end.
But part of the challenge is that once you do that, once you settle for that little crumbs, whatever's that sale, because there can be 3 blocks, right? You disqualify yourself from raising your voice in all issues. Because how are you going to talk against now when something else happens?
Well, we saw
when you don't get by.
We saw this mentality of the PPPC with that lady that got a house lot. Now that is her entitlement as a citizen. And because she spoke out against them, she was branded in a certain way. Now, can you imagine when you collect favors, which are not necessarily your entitlement as a citizen, how much more restricted your voice?
But the thing is I think what's important for us to understand and acknowledge also is that the people have this thing that they do in which they starve persons of resources and benefit, take away things like basic in the workplace, for example, basic promotions that persons are entitled to, and they starve them and strip them of all of those things and basically bring them to their knees. And that's what they've been doing all the time. And I say that that is just a microcosm of the bigger issue at hand. In the country, they do the same thing. Persons are starved of resources all the time, and they get them to a point that they are in dire need of anything, and then they go and they dangle a carrot. And that is the way they do it at every level. They do it in the organizations, within the various ministries, and then they do it in the country. They have persons in the country in a state that they can barely afford to put a meal on their table for their children, and then they're going to come and say, oh, we're going to share out $25,000, and everybody run for it and grab for it. And oh, we thank you so much for this, because they're starving. And it's the same thing that they do in these organizations. They put a structure in such a way that persons believe that they have to kneel before them in order for them to be elevated within the organization that they're working in. And that is a mechanism, the methodology that they use to control persons. So it's like, I think that when people see it like that, a lot of people lose hope and they crumble to that sort of political pressure. And it's a very sad state. But I like we began today's program by saying that there's strength in unity and the numbers.
There is strength in unity. And you see what happens is, going back to the point that you made, Joretta, about people becoming hopeless. And that is because we have become very insular as a society. And as times become harder, what we do is that we become more insular. So people, a bundle of sticks, you can't break all at once. But if you can pick them off one by one, one by one, one by one,
Yeah.
You can destroy an entire society like that.
Mm.
So really is introspection we got to do. We got to
Yesterday-
determine whether we're going to live on our knees, you know,
As slaves.
or we can go out
As free men.
as free men.
You know, yesterday was interesting when I saw how the sugar workers were lifting their voices, because it occurred to me that, you know, Charan Das Prasad had a lot of grievances with the way in which sugar workers were treated in the past. I was thinking he probably really at pains in the High Commission in India. Must
I
be
don't
really,
know.
really-
I don't know.
really-
You want my view? My view is that
Tell us.
if it were Jack Dio speaking to them yesterday, they would have been circumspect. But that's just my view. That is just my view. You understand? So I'm not impressed. I'm sorry. Because
But-
if it were Jack Dio speaking to them, they would have been sitting, listening attentively. Again, that is just my personal view. The thing of it is that the head of the union is not necessarily that person for you to come for in that scenario. You got an MP
Yeah.
that
Who is
heading
yeah.
the biggest sugar union there. Why
Yeah.
not go on like that?
But I'm going to add something else there. And we've been talking about it in this program, that there is something that is seething right below the surface. And you can hear it with big auntie, you can hear it with big uncle, you can hear it with the sugar unions. And the current regime did not go and address the workers because they don't want to, right? They would love that show. They would love that. There is something that they know is happening at those meetings on the ground when you meet with people in person. There hasn't been a meeting where they have not been, people have not stood up and say, you're doing nonsense, you're doing foolishness.
Yeah, but I get to
So, but I understand what I'm asking.
I understand, but I think that there's a little change in dynamics that I've been noticing, and I acknowledge it because, for example, that one the video that you showed in the ring, we showed it on one of the FYI's program as well, when Jagdio himself was meeting on the outreach, and the gentleman stood up and he was asking about the NIS, right? But what started that whole conversation. And I was having discussions with other persons, and everybody was saying, you know, this is the first time I think that his experience and people actually speaking up to him in that manner, in that tone, you know, and it says a lot about the fact of people being informed right now. I think we took it for granted prior years, the lack of information that persons actually got in more remote locations, and the access to information right now. It's changing the dynamics, because before, when they would have gone out and had an outreach, people went there to get the information, you know, and they were like, yes, you know, this is what it is, you know, we believe, and all of that. But now when they're going on these outreaches, they need to acknowledge that they are going to a well-informed audience. Persons already have the information. So because of that, persons are able to combat that.
I think that is a part of it, but make no mistake, what you are seeing there is what has always happened. We just have not been able to see it because social media 6 years ago was not as prevalent.
But the beauty about it, I think it emboldens others.
It emboldens others, but what you're seeing there is something that happened because their constituency, they go and they demand answers. And they're like, we put y'all there, and this is what we expect. There's never a shortage of that. That's why the sugar workers strike and they get $200,000. The public servants, however, the people that keep the wheels of this country turning, do not hold their leadership
Maybe that's
to
the
that
problem.
level of accountability.
Maybe that's the problem.
Why is that?
We're
You know,
not up in our leadership team.
that's a serious
Because
issue.
it's a
That's the problem.
psyche problem.
Yep.
It is a psyche problem.
That's the problem.
And so Big Auntie right to go and bad up, not a wicked man, whatever, because Big Auntie understands
There's a power in her
I
voice. Yep.
put you there and you got to serve me. Union leaders, particularly the public service union, their workers do not stand up and demand more of them because everybody fighting for position in the organizations is about who head up union affairs. And so this one pulling this one down and that one pulling that one down. Let's talk about the issue.
But I never get that.
What?
I never get the fact that people believe that they need to have a title in order to do
I
work.
have
You
worked
know?
in government for 20 years.
My goodness.
Right? I've been about a little bit. I know I've looked things.
Yeah.
But in them 20 years,
You learn a couple of things.
you understand, you see how people work,
Yeah.
and you understand why it is that it is so easy for the PPP to infiltrate them and break them up, because
Divide and
people
conquer.
confuse
Divide.
position with power. Position and power are not the same things. Those sugar workers don't have no position. They may be at the lowest level of the industry, but they understand that they have the power. Which is why when they go there and protest, Jack Dio shows up.
Yeah.
And they have that understanding.
Big Uncle
Public
said-
servants, on the other hand,
Yeah.
do not understand that if all of we stay home today, that is it for the country.
Yes.
Right?
And there's no way
And there is no way you
that they
all
can
of we.
find no, and not only that, there is no way in which they can find replacements for you.
For everybody.
Yeah.
Not for everybody. And
That's the
I often say, I often use the example that when I was doing my master's, I did master's in public administration.
There you go.
I often make the point as to who the people are that actually go out and study and qualify themselves to head the public service and all of these organizations and ministries within that body. And I think that once people realize, I don't know if the information is not out there enough for people to realize that once we stand up and we say that, hey, unless there's a commitment right now of a specific increase in wages and salaries, we're not going back to work, right? Unless it happens, then where are we going?
Right.
If everybody stay home for 1 week,
it's hard.
1 week, not even 1 week, they cannot survive 1 week without a public service at work.
I'm just going to say that I don't want to live in a country where Patrick Yard and Carol Duncan are still relevant.
But you see, they are, because they have been set up as the gatekeepers to control. That is what they have been set up to do. And people just vex with the sugar workers when they come out and demand their rights. My question to them is, why are you not?
Which brings me back to what I said earlier, that I saw quite a few headlines over the weekend. Union leader says X and union leader says Y. I don't want to hear from none of you. That's what I can say.
Yeah.
You understand? Let me just go down the road.
Literally.
Let me just go down the road. So much has happened
Literally.
in the public sector and other places that those guys have said absolutely nothing.
You have
Right? Like
a
we got
government
Labor Day every day.
that has put $20 billion into an industry that they know is failing. Right? And this is not that we are against sugar workers in any way, but those people understand their power.
Yeah.
And that has to be said.
But you can't be against them and say something like
right?
that.
They understand their power.
Yeah.
And so they go there and they demand what they want, and this government response. Public servants, not so much. They're busy fighting about who can get recognized, and I want a title. Let me talk about these things honestly, because until we begin to cut these matters to the core, we get the hasten next year with a 3.5% increase.
And you're right. And it boggles the mind that some of these union leaders, after, decades in this business, your biggest fight of your career is who can head the GPSU, who can be the CEO. You understand what I'm telling you? That's the biggest fight. Nobody concerned with the workers.
They are a disgrace to labor.
Who can be there to sign off the check to travel overseas?
The whole side of them.
Who can be here for? Yeah.
They're a disgrace to labor. When you look at the struggle of Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow and Joseph Polidor, those were men who were prepared to lay down their lives. Yeah. I want everybody.
And then think about how much trips are going overseas, how much per diem, you understand, and all this foolishness.
If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And the leadership of the unions have fallen for the carrots and the duty-free concession and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, the masses are left neglected. But the message to the masses today is the message is very simple. You have the power.
You have the power.
You have the power.
You have the power. Folks, we are well into the program, and we're still in the we're still in the morning paper.
Put up a slide yet?
No, believe it or not. But let's start there. Let's start on the international front. And I think, Judy, you know more about this than the rest of us right now. The U.S. Supreme Court, I'm answering this is here 482, because it deals with the law. They have a preliminary ruling could pull back Roe v. Wade, which deals with abortion and women's rights and so on.
Well, I think the whole the whole
And that's what's
everybody
ruining it,
knows
Ashley.
everybody knows the Roe versus Wade. Well, not everybody. Let me not assume that everybody knows this, but Roe versus Wade basically this actually goes to the pro-choice more so. And right
Choice.
now, right now, what we're seeing, as it has been circulating, and I want to put it over that way, the Supreme Court there's a draft opinion that they're saying that would overturn the Roe versus Wade, and that was published by Politico and also verified by CNN. And I want to say that there's a lot of persons already that is taking up a placard and going before the Supreme Court with this matter because they believe there's a lot of pro-choice persons and they do not want that basically to be taken away from women to have that choice in their hands. But there is a lot of talk also that you would know that I think was the Donald Trump administration and a lot of the persons there did not care much about the pro-choice and they're more pro-life personnel. So that is a battle that you will see continuing there. And as it is right now, there's an opinion that was leaked. I think that was that is a very serious aspect of it because this don't usually happen at that level, but an opinion was leaked. All right. Right. And this was not supposed to be finalized and circulated until June, but the opinion was already leaked. And the seriousness of it, it's going to see. I think it's going to head to the street.
And the Supreme Court has already written its decision.
An opinion.
Like the people little petition
But you know, the Roe v. Wade is right up there with Brown and the Education Board. And these very landmark cases in American jurisprudence. So what is being attempted, it will be a very, very interesting thing.
To overturn that,
how American society, how they navigate that. Because that is the cornerstone jurisprudence for literally jurisprudence around the world. So it is really going to be very interesting to see. And the whole argument about church and state. We're in for some interesting times.
It's a pro-life. I think
we got a lot of blurred lines with that. Locally, church and state.
No, but when it comes to that particular one, I think one of the big question is the fact that at what stage the unborn fetus is being identified not as a person and all of that. A lot of arguments are going to be coming forward like that. So
a year or so.
But as it is there, as it is. We're bringing it to you as is. That this was actually published by Politico and verified by CNN that the Supreme Court draft opinion that would overturn Roe versus Wade was leaked.
But that got serious security implications.
Yes, I know, right? Wow. Because they're actually stating like which judge is going for and so forth. And based on the information that was leaked, it seems like there's enough to overturn. Yes. Very interesting, to say the least.
That's the system. And what else do we have?
Fascinating.
What else do we have? Oh, Jamaica, Drita.
Wow.
Them boys. Gunmen, went after church.
Sophisticated.
Yeah,
well,
different.
Jamaica. Listen, this one kind of caught me off guard this morning. Let me just say that much. But there's a man
in Jamaica.
There's a man who scouted out the 150-year-old Sharon Baptist Church in Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth on Sunday, returned 24 hours later to rob the place of worship, taken with him an undisclosed amount. I don't know which is more interested. I don't know which is more interested, right? That the church got wrong, or the undisclosed amount. I don't know why I don't know why I'm always interested in these specific words, the undisclosed amount.
These places used to be off limits, You used to have respect.
Oh my goodness.
People would turn down their music going past the church with some people make the sign of the cross going past, pay the respects and so on.
Not anymore.
Right now, they're scouting the church out.
Yeah.
To see if they can get some money.
Sunday and return.
Then scouting the shop down the church.
Oh my.
A lot of people feel the church has become big business too. So.
And a lot of churches have become big business too. There's that.
Oh,
We
yes,
got, we
yes.
got bishops in
that.
diverse places.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
what's the next thing?
The
Moving on.
undisclosed amount.
Popes and so on.
Yes, the undisclosed amount for me.
Popes
So
and so
as we
on.
move on.
As we move on, what's this happening? Oh, this happened over the weekend.
Oh, my
You know, I'm
goodness.
taken aback with the amount of stuff happening on our roadways and waterways. You know, we had one of our squash players lost his life over the weekend here. Maybe the first road fatality for 2020 for me. And we had something else that I thought this would be the first for me as well. We've been looking at road accidents, and I think somebody was murdered over the weekend too. So there is that, and we had a lot of carnage on the roads in over the weekend, over the last month, in April, and you know we want to take a look at this. We have been going through so many of them. I think our podcast I on Friday or Saturday talked about. We were chronicling, person by person, the amount of carnage that happens on the road, and lots of it, when you look at it, is preventable stuff.
Yeah, persons just not taking their time.
Preventable. And just a lack of
Yeah.
courtesy.
Yeah.
What is
You
that?
know,
What is courtesy?
Like people don't know anymore. I sometimes I'm like in wonderment, like to stop for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
To allow
And this
somebody
morning
to
too,
pass.
I mean, it was raining lots, cats and dogs, as they say in the national capital city here in Georgetown, and people just blazing through.
I'm blowing on you to
Yeah.
speed up in the rain.
Yeah,
It is. I don't
lots
know.
of it is preventable.
A lot of absolutely.
But over the weekend, I was like driving Miss Daisy. I was going one for another.
because
Right? I'm dying for the hill. That's the hill I'm dying for.
it's
Yeah,
what is the
serious,
point?
right?
Arrive alive.
As a matter of fact, we put out some content on TikTok over the weekend, in which we said definitively, and we walked through just April month,
The
that
statistics.
Guyana has the most dangerous roadways in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw
Right?
that
You-
article.
you-
Incredible
You
sources.
don't
It
have
was-
you don't have so many accidents in New York City
Yeah.
per capita.
For a little group of people down in these parts, it is a culture of lawlessness that has become almost entrenched. Like to obey the law, you feel like the exception when you obey the road laws.
Yeah.
You feel like something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Look, you see cultural attitudes with a corrupt government will be the death knell of this country unless we get it together. We have to appreciate and become a little more law-abiding, man.
And you know, Amanda, in all that carnage that we walked through over the weekend, where accidents and so on are concerned, what I didn't find was any consequence. Like in all of that, you never hear a driver's license is revoked or suspended. It seems as you could kill 5 people and you could go and turn onto another bus next week.
Well, you can buy a license,
Right?
and all of these buses are owned by policemen and women, so they feel that they're above the law.
That being said, a lot is happening on our waterways, because just over the weekend there was another missing vessel that capsized. Can't remember the specific. In Kanji.
With its
And
people,
then this is at Parika. I mean, and if you guys pick up one of the morning papers and you go through it, chances are you're going to see this story, and it says the boat had left Parika about 5 minutes before. There were 2 boats on the sides and a huge wave.
They were attempting to go for the wave.
Yeah,
I personally, I don't know who captained that boat or so, but an experienced captain should not have those issues.
But every captain
so-
thing, I mean, like what is an experienced captain? Because I think some of the bus drivers in the same thing. Every bus driver thinks I can't get in an accident, and you don't have to be the person necessarily who is you're at fault.
At the boat, Amanda should know this just as well. But when it comes to boat and license for boat, it's not as straightforward as going to get a license to drive a vehicle on the road. With boat license are very, very compact. The test that you have to take it's very much in depth. It's different to be a bowsman, and so, but you have to know that specific river, the channels, and all of those things when it comes to where you get licensed for.
But
you don't get a license. But let me just say, you don't get a license for a boat, and you get a license for a boat for every part of Guyana. You get the license for boat for specific areas and all of that.
At least I want to qualify that to say you shouldn't.
Yes.
Right, but our motto.
Oh yes.
This is Guyana.
Yeah.
Right? You shouldn't.
But it sounded to me as if it was a case of a little negligence.
It
Yeah.
sounds a little,
It's
but
like
I don't know the
every week.
detail.
It's
I don't
like
know the
every
details
week
as
you
opposed
see
to what I
something.
see
Because
there.
every week you see some
what I
boats.
read is like a boat was passing a larger
Correct.
boat, and there was a wave
That's what
that
I
he
heard.
tried to.
Yes.
Whereas there's a particular type of maneuvering that you do in that situation.
And a particular set of
So,
distance you should be
yes,
to others as well.
yes,
So
yes.
like I was reading it.
I'm just glad that there were no fatalities.
Yeah.
That, because of what I learned is that it was a family.
Mhm.
So everybody in the boat was family, and they were going over for a fun day at another.
So give me the idea that it was a smaller boat too, and not a
Yes,
regular
and not a
passenger
regular
size
passenger, yeah.
boat. So it's like a bigger boat pass and but even the bigger boats, when you talk about courtesy on the roadways, usually and I can say this, usually when there's jet powered boats that traverse the rivers as well, and when those boats are passing, they have to slow down when they're
Right.
passing the small
The
boat,
smaller
because
boat.
if they don't, they can
capsize,
cause them to
yes,
capsize.
yes,
That's the fact. I don't know if that was a case in which there's this larger boat and the boat didn't slow down, because that by itself is breaking river laws as well. So
well, we hope Stephen, I don't remember his name, but the DG of Marad, we hope they're doing an investigation.
yes, most
and,
definitely.
that we'll hear about
Consequences.
what are the consequences, and if there's need for remedial training, etc. So just happy that there were no fatalities, Lord, because
I know that's some bit of trauma given to that family there. So we're happy that you guys are safe.
Traumatized, just really.
I know.
Happy that you guys are safe.
Yep.
But everybody appeared to have on their life jackets, because I saw some of the photos.
I did see that. I did
again,
see that.
We're
Thankfully,
just thankful that people are well.
Indeed.
Mhm.
What else we got? What else we looking at? Well, I don't have a strong statement over the weekend. Happy Labor Day to you, PPP. Yeah. I mean, I'm often happy in a sense when there are other parties, in the general sense of the word, when there are other people who speak out against what is happening locally.
And just as left as the AP and UAFC.
Exactly, or rabble rousers and so on.
Well, Ralph Ramkaran is from the belly of the PPP.
Mhm.
I mean, Ralph Ramkaran
knows the beast.
Father marched with Chedi and so on. So he's legacy PPP people. So for him to, one, leave and form another party, two, come out swinging in this manner.
Mhm.
I mean, the level of fed upness, I think.
And part of what the statement said is that, with all the relief you could give, I mean, relief and concrete is not the most pressing ones, because,
It's not really. Listen,
they don't care.
They specifically referring to the taxation, the taxation initiative that they had on cement, I believe, to be exact. And people would say that, oh, well, they're giving this now, so it's going to be more cost effective or efficient for the ordinary guy who needs to build a house. No, this is directly a benefit to the importers of this, right?
Again.
This has nothing to do with the person that are selling it. I think if we actually if we speak about this enough and persons come out again, then they're going to go to these guys and say, y'all gotta drop the price a little bit for a little period of time or something, because
like how Irfan had to beg them.
Come on, yes.
I bought gas yesterday. With a $5,000 bill, the young lady gave me back $300. I said, "What's happening here?" I still am there waiting for the rest.
Yeah, it's $4,700 something. Gas, kerosene. We were talking about it last time we were all together.
Yeah, that didn't
We
benefit
can't
from
afford to buy
that
kerosene.
zero.
I didn't think I meant concrete.
You've been having to put rocks together and paper and so on. So to be able to feed our family, you see, we make light of this because maybe this is how we go. But this is serious.
They
serious.
have
a point.
It's
you
serious.
Cannot eat concrete.
I went by a certain place just over the weekend too. Bought a couple of bread and so on, and 2 pastry. And when they got to 23 something, I was like I'm gonna give up bread fully now. I gotta give up pastry.
Listen.
But my sister came home and she said that my sister
out
came
there.
home with a little bag and she said that she just went to get some stuff because she tries to get like whole wheat thing. She said she went to get 2 things and the lady tell her 10,000 something. She just decided she gonna stop eat because this is making sense.
When you go to the supermarket, and
I tell you, but
see the struggle of people.
Yeah.
And so people are standing there and you could see them mentally doing the calculation.
You use watch me in the
because
supermarket?
I do.
You use watch me shopping.
No,
No, I mean, sometimes you go up with too much, you gotta put the setbacks on, right? That's what
because
people is
it
facing
a-
every day.
It is a thing, and I leave
know.
every time I go to the
No.
supermarket, I leave there depressed because I'm
Mhm.
saying, God, how are people eating in this country?
Oh, I eat it in this country.
Well, I want to
Nice
actually,
people, you know.
I want to actually read a part of the statement. It said that Anok's statement that we're discussing right now. It said one would imagine that the government, flush with funds, would prioritize the alleviation of the distress of the working class by one, raising salaries in a public police and teaching services, especially at the lower scale, by two, raising the minimum wage, by three, lifting the income tax threshold, and by four, providing a system of unemployment and sickness benefits for school children using the existing NIS structure. So, but the government has raised the public servants' wage by 7%. The minimum wage is less than 400 US. The working poor continue to see their meager income tax. The government tells us that the NIS is bankrupt and that the government cannot account for the monies handed out in their cash handout schemes. Meanwhile, billions of dollars are being awarded by the government in an opaque system where friends and family continue to benefit. Billions are spent to prop up the disastrous Gaisuku. Billions are earmarked for a gas to shore project for which a country has seen no feasibility study. And there's a loud announcement of VAT relief for concrete.
Yeah. I don't think a Guyanese living in this country would disagree a word of that statement.
Yes. Loud announcement for a VAT relief for concrete. And I read it and I'm thinking to myself, and I know persons probably, you're at the point right now, we have been talking about trickle-down economics, that everyone should know what it entails. We have been speaking about it all the time, and we're saying this is a classical example again of implementing something and then going to persons and say, oh well, if we are going to do the VAT relief for concrete, then you as the ordinary Guyanese that's trying to build a house, you're going to benefit because you're going to, the cost for cement and so will actually be reduced. No, it will not. No, it will not. But the person that you have to go and purchase these items from, they're going to be able to buy a couple more vehicles. They're going to be able to build a couple more houses. They're going to be able to set up business in some other country, because their profits are going to be increased with this initiative, and you are not going to benefit on the ground.
So
that's the way it is.
While that was happening on that front in the Rupununi, this was happening,
Oh, sure, take us through that one. My goodness, this is just different.
Farmer, and because his cow ate the cassava of somebody else, that's where he can lose his life. Beaten to death because his cow ate a man's cassava. That's the value of life in this country.
Yeah.
That's a level of frustration in this country that it's most crazy.
Jarrett is absolutely right. Martin Carter's poem. What he says, a carnage of a festival of something.
Misery, a carnival of
and a carnival of
unhappiness and everything else.
This is people's frustration. That is all it is.
Yeah.
That is all it is. It's not an excuse.
For cassava.
But you see, the cassava might have been the people's last crop, and I'm not making an excuse.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to look at it from both sides. It's no, you can't murder man for that. But people are frustrated to no end because
cassava.
People are on edge. COVID, this government has not sat to think about how COVID-19 and the fallout have adversely affected Guyanese. They have not sat and they have not thought about it. People are having mental health struggles daily, compounded with the fact that you can't feed your family.
Yeah.
You use the right word. It's a seething.
It's right there.
On the current.
It's right there.
Just waiting for something to bubble over and push it over the edge. And the PPP, they know this. They know this.
They study it. They try to go in at just the right time and to give a little bit of relief.
Throw crumbs.
Yeah.
Throw crumbs. But they are able to succeed because we as a people continue to be distracted.
Mm-hmm.
The PPP will do what the PPP will do. The question is, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to expect them to change their spots. They will never do it. This is who these people, and when I'm talking about the PPP, we got to make a distinction between the PPP supporters who are themselves punishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like punishing.
Yeah. And we can talk about that in a second, about punishing. Right. And where we are, 18 months, 19 months in to a new administration. But, some other stuff that are happening as we press forward, it's this. We talk about punishing. This was brought to the fore over the weekend, how people are being treated at Port Moran. This is Heartland PPP Hospital. Right? So if you can fix anything, get it right. This is where you want to
begin at home.
Right? And the folks were very, very concerned about this. And, somebody put out this video and we said, well, if this was happening here, Joshua Hospital ain't gonna fare better. Right? Or any other hospital that's not,
This is how Portmore Hospital patient be treated. This is where they sit. On holidays, all about closed, they can't sit, get anywhere to sit. They sit on the ground and wait on the doctors to start work. Portmore Hospital. Look, the sanitize. Where the people sit, look the drainer.
Yep, folks, the cooperative producing republic.
Of Ghana.
Cooperative. You sit on the ground, you wait in the doctor.
And we cannot have an account as to whether the oil monies will be used to these basic social services.
Yeah.
Again, we concrete.
Mm-hmm.
We have a reduction on tax on concrete. We are in a dilemma. We cannot continue like this for another 6 months. NIS, pensioners are complaining, some of them don't have their increases yet.
Yeah, correct.
And the one thing I disagree with Anna about is that workers did not get a 7% increase. They got a 3.5% increase per annum.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you put it in those stark terms, because remember the 7% was over 2 years. So it's effectively 3.5 a year.
Correct.
Coupled with the inflation cause.
Let's just remind you the tax it in there,
coupled with the inflation costs, that's what it was. It was not a tax-free retroactive, and those are things that persons need to understand. They need to speak about. You can't just come and say that you persons are enjoying a 7%.
Precisely.
And another thing is that we mentioned, and I have to mention it back again, is that it was across the board, and by doing such, what they did was widen the gap again between the rich and the poor.
Because this is their modus operandi.
People, we need to understand these things, these concepts. These concepts are ever so important to every single person.
This is why we do FYI.
Yeah.
Because
for information.
We have to have an informed public. An informed public makes informed decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so when enter what's his name, Winston Jordan, who by the way, they continue to prosecute.
Yeah.
Had him for questioning last Thursday or whenever it was, held him for charges that he knew not of. And it is not coincidence. Every time the PPP are doing nonsense and they're being called out on their fiscal mismanagement, they target Winston Jordan. I want you to check it out.
The target persons in general.
They target,
the distraction. It's a distraction.
He's the previous finance minister.
Yeah.
And so, because he is one that generally lays bare their stupidity, they always target him. If you notice it, it is concerted. The people are very, 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 very keen on the psychological games that they play. It's not coincidence that once again, Winston Jordan is now under the gun and possibly looking at trumped-up charges and all of that again, because they know that if he is to get on the air and to begin to speak, all of their financial stupidity will be laid bare. They're masters of distraction. That's what they do. Because even their own supporters are now crying out about their poor fiscal policies and how badly they're managing the economy.
But I'm glad Mansa said a point. I have to stick to sin right now, Sharon. I know you've been trying to make your point, but we're gonna railroad you this morning. But Mansa made a very important point and something that I like to highlight.
Right.
When you talk about the fact that when we talk about the PPP, we separate the PPP administration, those guys there
The elites,
managing the elites. We separate them from the PPP, what has been traditionally known as the PPP support base. And that's why I constantly come on the program and I always give credit and commend persons that are from PPP support base, traditional PPP support base, and they are beginning to speak out, because I always make a distinct separation between the leadership in the party as opposed to the people there, because as you rightly mentioned even earlier, that the PPP, the former PPP under the Chedi Jagan leadership was actually concerned, and their mantra was to represent the poor. And because of that, a lot of poor people are actually inclined to support them. Because of that, they have that passed on, like families, generations of people in poverty. Is as sickening as it sounds. Generations of people in poverty continue to support because of that mantra that they had back then. But people need to understand right now, especially those supporters, is that is no more. That is no more. So if you are not in that upper class bracket, you will not benefit from supporting that party. Absolutely. And it's absolutely necessary for us to distinguish between them, because when I talk about the PPP, never ever think I'm talking about the PPP support base. I distinguish, and I think it is necessary for us to make it very clear that the PPP support, they're Guyanese and they're struggling, they're punishing too.
And like we were saying earlier, suffering just as badly, and maybe even a little more.
Yes.
Because it is a terrible thing to be betrayed by the leaders that you put your trust in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they went into those villages and communities and they promised them the world.
Yeah.
And so you have people.
We're gonna make sugar grace again.
Who, and this is what I say.
The trust to them.
We have to get Guyana back to a point where I support who I want politically, but it does not mean we are enemies.
Yeah.
Right? And you could be PPP, I could be AP and UFC. We love our country, and I just suppose it. But we fundamentally disagree on our political direction and our policies. And that should be the dividing line. There is an annihilation and a humiliation factor that has been injected into politics now, particularly from the PPPC elite. So that is deadly and that is detrimental. And they continue, look at it this way. They're going to target Winston Jordan. They're going to come up with stupid statements about SOPs, because their whole intention is to take the minds of the people off of their suffering, to give them dog whistles in these issues. We got to wake up. We have to wake up.
And while we wake up, this is right up through this alley. We were talking last week. They were talking about this engineer that's before the PAC, and the fact that he would have signed off on a contract and paying the contractor before the contract was up. And on Goldstrand over the weekend, we're into that. He said, "Well, hold on just a second. I like when Alan Goldstrand talk, because that's how it comes across. Hold on, not so fast." He said, because you can't only look at the engineer. The PS had a part in that too. And then he went back. He said, this has been a chronic problem with engineers and so on, PSs and so on, signing off on projects before they are finished, advancing monies before contracts are completed, and also not giving back monies to the consolidated fund. One, and then he says writing check in advance, because you don't want to give it back. You write a check and you hold it. And part of the point he was making over the weekend, I think it was yesterday's Sabbath, I think it was, and that's the header from the article there, that all financial breaches and other irregularities in government must be thoroughly investigated. We got some of the typo there. And he said almost every year since the financial reporting and the audit were restored, the Auditor General has been reporting on these breaches. He says in 2000, the majority of ministries, departments, and regions failed to surrender the totally consolidated fund unspent balances at the end of the year. It goes on to say that they kept cash or open. They kept the cash books open until February 15, 2021, or they backdated payments. Basically, across parties, he said, this is across government. This is a problem that we have to solve. It's not about pointing out things and says you or you or you.
But I'm actually listen. I'm so happy that he is speaking out on that matter and he's taking a position, because I have an issue, and anyone that pays attention to the PAC meetings, because it's gone when we actually examine those agencies. It's live, all right. So you can look at live on social media through the Parliament's Facebook page, and I always have this thing that I do, and I mean sometimes I believe that persons are still not getting it. It's like, we're not there to make headlines, to create nice, sensational headlines.
You are not there to do it,
right? I am not there to create these nice, sensational headlines. And I think I have an issue with certain persons. I have to say certain persons, because there's some members of the PPP don't even speak at these meetings. But I have an issue with certain members of the PPP actually go in there, some disruptive persons. So if you might understand better, people are like the desert.
Disruptive.
Right? You know. And they would go and Ezra, for example, you know, he would use words like corrupt and theft and this and that. And I would say, well, hold on. Yes, we have these issues, but we are here as a public accounts committee to actually put systems in place that make sure that these things does not keep reoccurring. And when he tries to go on, I said, well, let's wait. Since we want to go down that road, let's go back to 2010 and 2012. Let's go back to 2014. I said, wait, this issue is our issue that came from 2014. I know people get a little upset when I go down that road, but my point is that we are getting nowhere as a country unless we address PAC matter in bipartisan ways.
And
because it's not a gotcha, because the fact is that across governments, like rightly said there were issues, and every single year the reason why we get Auditor General's report, they stick every single year, is because every single year there are breaches, regardless of which government is in. If there was no breaches, the Auditor General would write a nice short report and said, this was a spectacular reporting year. There was no breaches.
You're never going to have that.
It's not there, and we have to fix the system. We have to.
Which is the point Gulshan was making, Amanda.
Yes.
That I think what's point recently they had about they were arguing had about 500 breaches according to them, and Gulshan made a point that lots of these breaches that you're saying are continuing because they've been brought forward from previous years.
And I want to mention this one.
It is institutionalized wrongdoing.
It is correct.
And we got to fix it. We got to fix it.
The point got to be made. And this is why I love to tackle the way I'll do in the 5 years.
Yes, I love to tackle that too.
You have wrongdoing that has been ingrained in our institution to the point that people believe that these corrupt practices is actually the right way to do things. So you have institutionalized wrongdoing over 23 years. How are you undoing that in 5 years? You have rotting institutions that were allowed to rot for 23 years. Yeah. But you want me to be able to fix it in 3 effective years?
Yeah.
It is not possible. And Guyanese have to stop being distracted by bells and whistles. You see, the PAC and the point that you are making, these are the issues that will determine whether or not we live in a failed state.
Yes.
Our institutions, our ministries are corrupt beyond belief.
Yeah.
But that's because that is how they were trained. You know, we don't train up a child in the way they should go.
And some of
persons were born in this country and grew up believing that the only way to get by in life is to pass a bribe, put something under the table. And persons went into the working world, I want to say, especially when it comes to these engineers, I've been listening, I've been learning from day one. When it comes to the engineers, these engineers went into a system, some of them fresh out of university, went into a system that is so corrupt that even if they had attempted to do what they believe to be the right, they would have been brushed out of there.
Right? Listen,
we have to fix it. We have to fix it.
People do not appreciate that an entire generation or two came of age as professionals, including us,
correct,
under a system that you got to pass bribe, you got to pass something on it. So that is literally in our psyche. And so when you have an interregnum of 5 years with the APNUFC government, you have
nothing flowing.
Oh God,
nothing flowing.
Money.
Things are circulating.
You're not getting corrupt money.
You're not getting corrupt money.
Things are circulating.
You're not getting corrupt money. So now it is almost we have gone back to that conditioning. You know, pig and mud. You know this thing about pig and mud.
Yes.
You can
take it out of the
mud.
Can't
He
the
will
mud.
find his way. And so,
well, talking about that, let us head into the big issue because
these have been some really big issues.
We saw some headlines over the weekend that got to be Jack News jokes. We saw some headlines over the weekend, and Rita going to give us just a couple of them because we don't want to detain you guys. We know some of y'all on the government work peeping through. Got your earphones in, your cordless earphones, and so on, listening to us. We don't want to detain you along. But Jack News jokes, that's a big issue for today. And Rita, just tell us about a couple of those headlines that we are seeing.
Well, the first one I want to look at is the fact that one of the headlines that says PPPC government, an example of consultative democracy.
I love you. Stop.
Jack News said over the
This is when we're talking about the outreaches.
That was a headline in DPI.
I saw it.
That the PPP is an example of consultative democracy.
and he cited his cabinet outreaches.
Wow.
To specific areas.
Wow. And you shouting down people.
But
where
probably,
you get money from?
No, probably,
You
probably this is an issue of after consulting with myself.
Yes, I confirmed
with myself, and me and myself have decided that we're going to move forward.
It's an example, you know.
So BJ say yeah.
We can get in the increase or not?
Guys, we have to be laughing at this because that's the only we cannot take that seriously, you know. How does someone in DPI sit down, right? Well, let's not get to there. We understand that this person's trying to keep the jobs.
They got your bread. They got your bread.
But another
Jack News jokes. Yeah.
Another one of the headlines I saw.
But before we get to that particular one, there's another headline we saw over the weekend in which he's saying that is Irfan and somebody don't want to release the report the woman did on the oil and gas sector. What's the woman's name? From Canada, the specialist. They said he's advising them to release it.
So he threw Irfan
Yep. I think that's
like what they did with Todd.
So Irfan,
he says now he's dead.
Irfan back probably for the title tracks right now.
But the Taiwan China issue, remember what they did to Todd there, man?
The difference. I want to get the headline because it's so interesting how the guys put it out there this morning for us. You know, it's very, very interesting. But again, he's saying he would advise them to.
It's not he.
Throw it under the bus.
Petroleum Commission business.
Right? He would advise them to release the report.
Yes.
Right, and then you have another headline.
Well, but
Jack News jokes.
The other one you're looking at is voters list not bloated. Jack News says as GCOM gears up for LGE. A man's a man, take this one.
And then they were deciphering a way to take the extra names from the non-bloated list off the list.
But it's not bloated.
The list is not bloated.
Yeah, but you know,
right?
this is
It's intention to just run people mad. You just go and tell and look people in the eyes, and you make them question themselves. You know
that he may be going mad.
Tell us that.
If you have you rely so heavily on CARICOM and their reasonably credible report.
Yeah, 18%. That one.
All of the same one. All of them say the one abiding problem that they all agreed on was that it was an extremely bloated voters list.
Yeah, and should change.
What you are seeing here is a man who is losing his
Marbles?
his not only his marbles but his aura of invincibility. If you study leaders, you will see that he is on a descent.
Yeah.
And you gotta watch out for his mental health very soon.
And that
because
is why
that is a level of
and that is
from
why I
reality.
disagree with you to an extent with the reference with the sugar workers there, because based on what you've just said, when Jack is at these outreaches, he's in command of the outreach.
Yeah.
And based on Big Uncle and Big Auntie, some other issues that we have seen recently, you understand me? They're frightened now.
So you think maybe
They're frightened now to go to them outreaches.
Maybe this guys of invincibility
That precisely.
is slipping.
Yeah.
And it might be the case.
Yeah.
Because for you to in the face of everybody, even GCOM saying the list bloated, but we can't do nothing about it because of the Chris Ram ruling by the court. For you to sit there and to say
No,
that no, it's not good. There's a certain detachment from reality that ought to conform the Guyanese.
Yeah,
if you
it
study
should.
people like Hitler and these people, this
It
is how
should.
they decline.
It should
began.
definitely. It should.
All right.
Should definitely confront all guys.
You know.
Yeah.
So what's the other big joke, Doretta? Because this is it's. I mean, we might think it funny, but it's not. It's not funny in the least. This is concerning.
I want to use the word disinformation for this segment.
Right.
I want to use the word disinformation, and as is defined, disinformation is a subset of propaganda, and it's false information that is spread deliberately to deceive. It is sometimes confused with misinformation, which is false information, but not deliberate. Right? And I want us to start to stop using the word misinformation when we talk about these particular matters, because this is not misinformation. Misinformation is false information, but it's not deliberate. Disinformation is false information that was deliberately put out there to deceive.
Like
right?
Say,
so I think we misword it a little bit when we say misinformation, because it's disinformation.
Like to say that it was the AP and UFC that was responsible for the failure of NIS.
Oh my goodness.
When it is a fact that, and I pulled this article up from DPI the other day that showed that the government replaced the NIS billions lost through Clico investment. This was an article carried by Gina.
Which year?
September 16, 2016. It says almost 180,000 beneficiaries of the NIS can now breathe a sigh of relief with the government's commitment to replace billions of dollars invested in Clico and which were imperiled when the insurance company went bankrupt. The Minister of Finance, Winston Jordan, on behalf of the government of Guyana, today signed the debenture with the NIS for an aggregated value of $5.6 billion. But here is Jack Dio
saying that it was the AP and UFC.
It was the AP and UFC that bankrupted. Talk about disinformation. It's just wickedness.
Amanda, the same that you over the weekend. All right, I see. Yes, according to Kaiser News headline, says President Ali and Vikram Bharat should honor promise to release Alison Retford report on oil project. VP Jagger says.
Vikram, your name calling.
Throw that the bus.
I hope you get some begging feedback, because them bus tracks on the back must be quite painful. But I think they have an agreement that I can go there and say they are going to take 115. So it's not really
affect them.
It's not really impress me. You know.
They still get $1 million plus.
Them boys still going along merrily.
Yeah. So those are a couple of things. Also, Kaiser News talking about the company that is doing all the environmental protection, the environmental impact assessments for ExxonMobil, got a lot of conflict of interest. Lots of persons doing the EIAs have worked with ExxonMobil in the past, if not working with ExxonMobil currently. But that was the trust of some information coming out of Cash news on that front.
The question is whether there's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
But to add to the headlines,
Yeah.
I want to add this to the headlines. That
This is on
Chocolate
for
jokes.
lady.
no, this one is a little more different, but it says Public Procurement Commission to be appointed soon, says VP Jack Gill. But then he went on to say that, he's like, when these questions are asked, I think we're at the stage where now, you can have movement forward. You can expect very soon the appointment of the Public Procurement Commission, because those names were sent to the Parliament on April 13th. And only came to the executive after that sitting of Parliament. He's like, that's a few weeks back. Those names,
Only.
No, but he's saying again that but listen to this, right? So Jackie went on to say that the president is not required to consult with the leader of the opposition once Parliament submit the name. Right? So basically getting thrown here for the under the bus again. That is a few weeks back that Parliament actually confirmed these names.
But
Right?
but that for them even worse, because if you're not required to consult, you can do it even faster.
Well, that's what Jackie is saying here, right? So he's throwing Irfan under the bus again.
But why does Irfan
Why do these very important policy announcements, why don't they come from Irfan?
Mm-hmm. He didn't know.
It is almost as if
Irfan gets it at the same time with us.
It's a little biased and arrest yourself. I am the power here, and you got to understand that these announcements will come from me. It is a problem because you see, when you're not sure who the power is, you can't make no decision. The leader of the opposition, how is he sure that when he goes to them and talk with Irfan, Jack, they always say, no, we're not doing that, and then Irfan got to go back like a little boy and say, well, circumstances.
Based on consultations.
Fundamental change in circumstances.
Wow.
We got problems. We have problems. And unless we tackle these issues, they are going to take the entire Guyana down the drain with them.
Wow. I just think, what does Irfan do on a daily basis? Like, what? What's his schedule like?
Maybe we could invite him on to FYI, that day in the life of, and see what he's actually doing. Because it don't appear that he's doing anything. Because all of these major policies.
VP Jagyo. And you know what? I am certain.
I didn't see how Irfan Ali takes it, but
he has to take it out.
Any other person looking on would see it as just blatant disrespect to the office.
But outside,
not the person, to the office, of the executive president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
Outside of all of that, PPP and segments in PPP must sit back and think, I wonder if Jagjo wasn't here, how things may have gone. Because if he's here, I mean, could they think they could be doing much worse? Or are they think they're having an A performance? Like, what is going through their mind? You might look at us on this side of the table and you think, okay, them is propagandists and rabble rousers. But you got to factor in Anouk's statement and, credit Ramkram with little sense because he's big and he got a little sense and so on. So he can't be totally wrong. And if we're saying the same things and other people saying the same thing, then, everybody can wrong and you're the only ones who are right. And this thing is not going well at all. And it's not only on one front, it's in every sector. So some group of people got to be sitting down and thinking, Jackie wasn't here.
I don't know if they got to be
better or worse.
I don't know if
but there actually was a group within the very PPP that was trying to put that forward. At one, was a group that was trying to say they have to remove this person.
Could be thinking that too, because I can't say everyone thinking and say, all is going great, boy. Look at me, look how we fly. Full marks.
I am not that hopeful. You see, to have that mindset or to even pause to think about that suggests that you are able to think about the masses and about the pains of people. The PPP government and ministers, there are very few of them that are concerned about the pain and the plight of the working poor. So you have to have empathy. Let me start there.
I saw
you gotta have empathy.
Yes, even 700 US slippers.
They simply, the reality is that they don't care. And you see, we keep wondering because we keep ascribing to them this emotion of concern them in care. They are there to enrich themselves and their families. I said it in my budget presentation. Show me where you spend your money and I will tell you what you value. They clearly value concrete because that is where they are giving the relief. And we have to stop expecting from these people.
I like a big uncle say. Big uncle say over the weekend. Hold up, boss. Hold up.
We can't concrete.
Jack was interrupting big uncle. Big uncle, hold up, boss. Hold up. Why trying to tell you? Right? There's a rule. That's what the man said. There's a rule. If this thing don't have money, you go to the consultant. That blew him away. That man had that level of intelligence.
Because, and we thank God for programs like FYI. And the trolls are going to be on here and they're going to say nonsense. But at the end of the day, they learn. And this goes back to the point that Joretta was making earlier about a more informed citizenry. And this is why programs like these are important. Because you know what they do? When people hit the streets in protest, which there's a place for, let us not run away from that. They say, oh, it's ignorance, look them, and so on and so forth. When you sit and you have conversations like these and you bring enlightenment, they don't know what to do with that because they thrive on misinformation, on disinformation, and their Goebbelsian propaganda. But so programs like these continue to be very, very, very important in terms of bringing edification.
Chisel Chipper, is that so? Donna Liverpool and Marilyn Ford and all the other guys. I know we have another video queued up, but I can't remember live with me. It's not showing in my notes what it's for. Oh, yes.
Yes.
We forgot,
please remember.
We forgot Linden Hospital and the big speech of the
Listen.
Jokes of the PvP.
Rudy needs to go. End the story.
No, you need to run that video. We cannot not play that video this morning.
The man said he is.
Yes.
He pledges himself. Look,
together with God.
Run, Rudy.
Run it. We can't.
Folks, the CEO of Linden Hospital was giving a speech.
He was reading a prepared speech. Let's start there.
Statement to the workers of Linden Hospital, the nurses there, who he has in no short measure, did everything in the book not to earn their
misogynistic statements.
Yeah.
You name it, he did it.
And he was giving a rallying speech for Labor Day. This is a snippet of it, folks. A snippet.
I give you my pledge to work tirelessly, night and day, to make the bonds between us stronger. If God is for us, who can be against us?
God for us,
God for us to me.
No. We never follow.
Just in case you missed that. Just in case the bonds between us are
Hold a boss. I remember big uncle. Hold a boss.
People didn't see that shirt. I don't think the folks saw that right.
The collective. That's how this nation going on. When you hear some of them talking,
I give you my pledge to work tirelessly, night and day, to make the bonds between us stronger. If God is for us, who can be against us?
God for us,
God for us to me.
No. We never follow.
God be for us, Amanda.
I'm sitting here wondering why are they even there listening to him? I mean, you see.
Well, see, you call a meeting with nurses.
It is hilarious, but that is where you take your stand. When he started speaking, I, for one, would have walked out. Because you can't be making misogynistic statements to women. We got to understand the psychology of all of this happening. When you sit down and you care in Rudy's presence, even if it is at him, psychologically you are bonding with him.
Man said they're coping.
I know that
coping
they're
mechanism.
coping, but there is
They're
something
coping.
called Stockholm syndrome that we
They-
gotta understand.
They're trying to cope.
And you become sympathetic with your oppressor. Rudy was not getting the opportunity
Remember,
to address me.
This is a fella who, when they staged a little protest, they had salary deductions.
So this is my
They've been in the
point.
struggle.
This is my point.
I don't know how much salary left.
This is my point. And he is still there with nurses carrying home $1.30 or
Mind you, the VP said over the weekend, according to
that he's a
Kaicho,
wild
he's a
card.
wild card.
But he is still there.
Yeah.
And you are still there.
Is they wild? Is they?
kicking at him.
Is they wild card?
When people begin to understand that their presence sends a signal, they're gonna appreciate their presence a little more. I didn't sit down and listen to nothing Rudy had to say. It would have had to be an apology. It would have had to have been his removal.
But that's it.
It
That's
is
him
not
apologizing
funny.
together.
No, it's not funny.
Together.
No, but I get,
Yeah.
I get
funny.
how Amanda's thinking
I feel
about
very
it.
strongly about it.
I get what Amanda's saying there, and I know, like, from the nurses' perspective, it's just what I was saying a bit earlier. Actually, the people have a way of bringing people to their knees, and that's what you saw there, right there. The fact that these people are at a position now, are at a point that they do not recognize the strength in their collective voice or collective action.
Against Mr. Wild
Because one person get up and leave, that person will be penalized. That person will have to face the wrath, basically. But they have to.
Absolutely.
It has to be a
It has
collective
to be a
movement,
collective
right?
effort.
A collective effort in order for person. And this is not just something.
So
and I
a-
would say this also, like,
a
this is
union
not
effort?
this is not a fight. I was just getting there, right? This is not a fight for them per se. Inside of there, they are getting up there. They're at work. They're taking care of sick people.
I
They're doing what
disagree,
they have
Greta.
to do.
It's a
There's not.
particular than,
It is a collective fight that needs to
It
be
is
from
a
the
fight-
outside
it is
and
a
in the
fight
inside.
for them. It is a fight for them.
But they can't do it alone at
I'm
all.
not saying that they have to do it alone.
Cannot.
They have to demand more
Who
from
can do it
their
with?
leaders.
Carbon
The
dioxide?
leaders of the union are there because they voted for them. If they are not serving the people, go. You sitting down there kekekaing with Rudy. Where was he when you had to manage with $130
I
for
think
salary?
I think it was just I think it was just a spontaneous
You should
repulsion
not
that he would even be
give-
saying that.
You
You know?
shouldn't even give Rudy the opportunity to address you. They got
Tentatively,
workers rep
yeah.
in there. What do you want to say to us? I had to see Rudy's speech from before.
But I think they might gotta walk out from the union too.
contain a response? Does it contain an apology? If it don't, my nurses are not coming there to sit here. You let me go and tend to the sick people. This is the kind of action that we have to begin to see. That man has oppressed those nurses, and you are there sitting.
Yeah.
I don't
So-
find it funny.
Also,
I'm
so
sorry.
over the weekend, as we wrap up, the Region 10 chairman had a protest outside the hospital over the weekend.
Right.
There are
But
others and others,
it's him. It
But
was
he was
Norman
saying
Figueroa,
he was
and-
saying that as we are looking at as Labor Day and we're looking at workers' right, it's impossible for him to go out there and basically have some grand festive
that's
day.
why- that's why
And he
particularly
met
big
it in
people
terms and he met it in with protest because
things
persons are still
things are
punishing,
fundamentally wrong.
Mhm.
And you going and sitting down and kekekaing with Rudy does not fix it. Jack Dio has called him a wild card. Why are we content as Londoners, as nurses, to have a wild card managing our healthcare system? That is the question that we have to be asking. You know, and so look, I'm a Linden and I feel very strongly about the fact that Rudy Small should not be there. Nurses who cannot focus on their work do not improve the healthcare system, and working under oppression. I mean, there's studies
Agreed.
that talk about the work environment and how
Agreed.
important it is. Rudy must go, and nurses must not tolerate him. He's a wild card according to Jack Dio. So why must Linden have a wild card managing their healthcare system?
Yeah. Agreed.
That's it.
Agreed.
I'm sorry I
Agreed.
get so heated.
Well, I
this
think
morning.
Manza needs to go have
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
make
more
a
of
visit
a-
to Linden.
I think that
Yeah.
I think that is what is needed right now because and we have to circle back to the fact that these workers are there and they are in a system that we spoke about a little earlier that is so corrupt, mismanaged, and all of that. And collective voices is the only way. What is going on in our country right now? We see the entire country heading downhill. Collectively, every institution, every single ministry, government ministry, everything, it's the same all around. And persons cannot believe that there is no power in their voice. I think that's where we lose ourselves as a people, and we lose the dignity and the respect that we were so designed to have. Especially when persons go and study for years to have a decent job. The least you expect is some state of respect at your workplace. And I believe that we are at the point right now that if there isn't action, it will continue to go down the way it is going down.
I think what Amanda is saying, what we all saying, is what I saw Moses Telford said over the weekend about the infamous bird. And we have been saying it here. We cannot, as a people, settle for mediocrity. We cannot settle for wild cards. We cannot settle for concrete only. We cannot settle. We have to demand more.
Before the temporary becomes permanent. And that's what
and if we continue, we'll be having more time here, you know.
We've been on for an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah. Steady vibes.
Our family is with us.
We see
Magnell wants my top.
Shirley Crichton is the green. Amabel Clement, we see you as well. Little Pratt, we see you, all of you folks. Guys, we love spending this time. Let me talk for more than I won't talk to the ladies. I love spending this time with you.
I said,
we love it. We love it.
We're doing everything on top of historical wounds. We sit with our oppressors and abusers and listen to further oppression of our minds. Very interesting thing.
Stockholm syndrome.
Very interesting. So we were talking
I want to read your book.
about.
I want to read your book.
This is very, very
Sherry says,
important.
love you, Sharon, Amanda, and Charita.
Thank you, Sherry.
That's right.
I mean, and just share the life.
Yeah.
Share the life.
Yeah.
Share the life.
Yeah.
We are not going to. We gotta stop topical
And you know what?
solutions.
You know what?
We gotta get to the heart of the
Manza,
matter.
the heart of the matter here is that we don't run out of water. We're drinking water.
We don't mind your business. We have established that.
We don't mind your
drink
business.
our water.
And it's because some folks partnered with us last month that got us here out front again for another month. I think this is 6 months. I think we're in. What am I talking about?
What are you talking about, Sharon?
Something. I'm 6 months. I'm.
We just take
4 months.
May is the 5th month of the year.
No, I wasn't thinking about that.
What were you talking about?
Something else. I was talking. Okay. Nevertheless.
We gotta get Sharon.
I don't know where Sharon is.
We gotta get Sharon Ginkgo biloba.
There's that too, and I may be imperfect. That being said, I want to really thank all the persons last month, because this is the kind of process we're in. Everything we do here, every program that we do, every time we come on air, that is facilitated by you, our viewers who contribute to our program.
I see Rowena says Facebook is blocking us from sharing your page.
I don't understand.
We've had several complaints like
This
this
is
prior.
something that we've been hearing
Margaret says
about.
I'm having a senior moment. I'm at an agent stage.
But it's so important that you partner with us, guys. And we don't have the public purse to fund these programs.
Yeah.
This is 100% people driven.
100%.
And we depend on your donations. And for those who come and say, "Oh, y'all are begging for money," yes, because we will not be beholden to anybody who believes that because they fund the program,
You must say this. You must say
in our
that.
speech. So there's no shame in our game about that. So understand that very, very clear.
I love that. No shame.
So Sharon, tell the people how they can.
Yoga lyrics.
Tell the people
Don't
how
think
they
you have to
can.
stunt man, because just like that, you can cause it.
Tell them how they can do it.
We got for your convenience, we got Cash App, we got PayPal, we got Zelle, MMG, we're available via Western Union, via MoneyGram as well.
He hopes if he missed one that I would remember.
I think we covered all.
You give up on me because
Cash App,
PayPal,
Zelle, MMG, we're available via Western Union, MoneyGram. So folks, partner with us, that's how we keep going. Right? Because of your love and your support. Yep. And if you want guidance, the number you want to call, our WhatsApp number 627-6963, 627-6963.
That is
That's
correct. That is correct,
That's
guys.
That's it.
Guys, it's
We
so
had a
good to
packed
have you
morning.
this morning.
Yeah,
Yes.
You know, it's always good
Yeah,
to have.
yeah.
You know, I love and I
Nancy,
keep
you come
telling
around more.
man, say I love when there's the three of us here having the discussions. We have the variation in perspective, and it's always so valuable because we all have different backgrounds that we're coming from, and all of that. It's so important that we put those together and actually end with a unified perspective on
You
these
say you
matters
come
and
back.
how
I
we can
love
go up.
it. No, I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. I and you know what we demonstrate here is that we can have different views without being disagreeable. Because I guarantee you, when we finish here, we can go have a cup of tea and Jaretta. When you hear Jaretta laugh, if Jaretta laughs here, you could hear it in the corner, and we will go and we will have fellowship and we will have our jokes because it's about bringing information to the people and valid and credible perspectives, you know, and everybody has a credible perspective to bring to the table.
And what we've been learning is that when we raise issues here, especially things that are negative happening out there, they get fixed. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh
Suddenly.
People run quick.
But I move the jumbly board. Good
The
Lord.
jumbly board being
That was a.
They've been budging from now on.
Mhm.
the jumbly board.
It's molten. I don't know, but it doesn't look the same. Like
Look different. We had a lot of rain over the weekend, maybe.
it looks different. It looks different.
It needs a flat with rain. That's our time, folks. That's our time because we're heading up on 10. Are we there yet? We're 15 minutes, 40 minutes out. from 10
Have
o'clock.
a good day, guys.
Have a
And go out
fantastic
there
day.
and make it a wonderful day.
Yeah. And you know, I'm really hoping everybody has a great month. It's a new month.
Yes.
Start on a good foot. I hope you're doing some planning. And what I was meaning to say, we're coming up on mid-year. That's what I was aiming for.
Okay.
Ah.
And we got to
Right.
revisit these plans that you have made. It's a good time.
Right.
As a matter of fact, some one of the services that we use at the back end was asking us about that very early, whether you would have met your half-year goal and that kind of stuff, already preempting you to think like that. And so we're gonna be looking at some of the stuff we've been doing here and how we could tweak it better, whether we have we've gotten our targets for half year, we've got enough information, what can we tweak, and we hope you have the same kind of approach to the year, because we started the year with a lot of plans and so on.
Right.
How is that going on? Did we just fling it out? I mean, we started February with a budget, with a list of things we got to do, but it seems the administration have flung away that budget. They're not playing it by ear. You get the airport, you get the stadium. We're playing it by ear now.
Yeah. And
But,
so
yeah.
but that is an important aspect of it, of planning, of revisiting your plans. And at the end of the day, you understand what is in your control, what is not in your control, and you plan accordingly. But you have to plan.
Yeah, and how are you going to be challenging yourself again for this new month? Let me grab 2 books that I got over the weekend because we want to really challenge people in so many ways.
We were supposed to be going off, guys.
In so many ways.
You
So
know, let's
what
look at
else
it,
are
let's
you
look at
guys
it.
going to be doing for the month? You're going to be challenging yourself. I got this one as a gift over the weekend, Slaves and the Highlanders. And I got this one, Private Empire and ExxonMobil.
Silent history of Scotland and the Caribbean.
Somebody went down.
This is a powerful.
This is not bad either.
read.
Right? Somebody
Guys.
went down to my favorite bookstore, which is Austin's bookstore, and they got me some books.
Love that. There is such a connection to Scotland. When you go to Scotland and you see the names of some areas, Glasgow, they're so.
And some of their family names, because Duncan is
Mine
Scottish.
fourth, one of my ancestors was a lot of people don't know I'm an Alicock.
Oh, lovely.
So one of the 3 Alicock brothers, all of the Alicocks in Guyana are connected to one of these 3 brothers. I am from the lineage of Edwin Alicock because we've traced it all the way back to Scotland. No, so there is a direct connection. A lot of these villages, Dartmouth, when you go to Scotland, you wonder, am I in Guyana? Because all of the villages share a similar name. There's a serious tie.
But
between
this
Scotland
whole
and
thing is about mind, soul, and body. So we're challenging our physical. That's why we go and exercise and we try to keep fit and all that. We got to challenge the spirit. You got to be in touch with your mosque, with your this, you know, your own,
mandir, whatever your
that
spiritual
is to you.
practice is.
And then the intellectual also, you know, you gotta feed that.
Amanda actually said something that just had me thinking, because she said his 3 brothers came from Scotland. That's crazy, because that's how
David, Edwin, and the other.
My ancestry is very similar, because again, it's 3 brothers of this one coming from Germany to Guyana, right? And so we had this whole heritage of Collinet, you know, but that's a different name. Like my grandmother, it's like the Metaholzes, and those are persons that well, you know how Guyana is. Everyone came from somewhere,
yeah.
and it's strange that today, you know, not so long ago, we're still young as a country when you look at it, our independence and all of that. But we have to remember that which we came from. Sometimes to ascertain and to strengthen our thinking as our purpose moving forward.
Which is why it's such a shame.
Yeah.
Because all of we come from someplace.
Yes.
My ancestors were dragged here.
Yeah.
Against their will. But we all came from someplace. And the 5th of May, we're going to celebrate Arrival Day. And so I hope that it really does serve as a lesson for us to strengthen our resolve that this Guyana is our own. It is our experiment.
Mm-hmm.
We are all here, came through diverse circumstances. How do we make it work? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I think Sherrod is right. May should really be a time of introspection.
And then we're coming up on a significant holiday in May too. It's not just about parties. You know, those things are important, you know. But it's not, holidays is not just about revelry and so on.
It's an opportunity to introspect.
You know, how far have we come?
And
how far do we have to
go?
Right? Because, you know, and, you know, one of the things that Stephen Covey, Washington O'Clock, talks about all the time is starting with the end in mind. How are we going to end the year? I got a clear sense of I want my year to end. And then you go after those things that are going to set your year up for that kind of ending. And so we got to challenge the month. What do we want the end of the month to look like? We can still be complaining, we can still be fretting, we can still be, right? How are we going to really take it out?
Or are we going to be a little more vigilant, a little more agitative in terms of how we challenge, you know, because we're going to be talking a lot about these issues. Because one of the things that I was looking at yesterday, and I was discussing with some folks, is that you look at other societies and they have social nets. You understand? So you may be down on your luck in the US, for example, but they got subsidized housing, you got food stamps.
The systems are functioning.
We have nothing. So
systems
if you're
are
not working, you got to depend on friends and family, because there are no
friends and family who don't have themselves.
There are no social safety nets for the people.
A package of men have
You understand?
Persons have been complaining about the quality of.
Folks, we gotta go. It's 3:00. We'll be right there talking.
It was a pleasure to be here with you all.
Always love being with you guys.
Yeah.
And
share
the live stream, smash the emoji button, and partner with us so that we can continue to bring you valid and credible information. Have a good one, guys. God bless you.
You have the last word.
Goodbye, everyone. I'm not going to continue.
See you tomorrow.